Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out this headline. The SEC we know is suing Binance. The SEC we know is suing Coinbase. But guess what? The SEC versus Coinbase case has a fatal flaw, and it's Gary Gensler. And we're going to let him prove it to you. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.16 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 1.8%. Bitcoin is 26,600 plus right now. We see Ethereum 1862 and change. Tether market cap 83.4 billion plus. All the scared money's running back into USD Tether. And I tell you, I believe at some point Tether gets a rug pull or subpoenas, and then we're going to see the market really hit a bottom. That's where my head is. Not trying to be an alarmist, but USD Tether has not got the blessing of a government or U.S. Treasury, Department of Justice, you name it. So jury's still out until we know that they say it publicly. Jury's still out. And I'll tell you something else too. They can talk all day about Bitcoin, but Bitcoin doesn't have the blessing of nothing. No one has legally blessed it. The agencies coming out and say, I see it as this, I think it's that. No one has legally said anything about Bitcoin. Don't forget it. Just because it's been here for a long time, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just talking about the truth. XRP is 52 cents this morning. It's up 3.6 in the 24-hour. Let's take a look at this before we get started. This is the truth too. Glint Pay, baby. You use the referral code underneath of my video, DPV50, and get 50% off your vaulting and insurance fees for the next 12 months. Full stop. Click the link. Personal alternative to banking, ladies and gentlemen, with physically allocated gold. Your account, your MasterCard debit card. Don't fool around. Click the link. I tell you, you're not going to stop once you do. Right here, want to thank Elon Musk and his team and Twitter support for helping me get back control of my account. He's back. Don't call it a comeback because he's been here for years. He says, but I owe everything to the thousands of tweets that got their attention to help me from the best community I know. Without all of you, I would not have control at this moment. I effing love you all. Well, we love you too, John. No doubt about it, brother. As it should be. Back in your hands, my friend. Here we see it. This is Wheezy. Now, he changed what's on Max Kaiser's shirt, but it is the truth. It's the truth. Department of Homeland Security met with the four Satoshis that the SEC and the CFTC claim don't exist. This is embarrassing. Adults don't turn their heads to the obvious truths like this one. Why is the government not acknowledging it, that we all know it? We know that they know it. I worry that this ends badly for people holding Bitcoin, and I don't want it to. And then there's this guy. First, I want to play you this clip right here where Anthony Pompliano has trouble trying to decide the difference between Ripple and XRP. And this is why we can't be friends with Bitcoin maxis, because they lack the humility. That's what's going on here. Well, listen to this guy.
The ongoing Ripple SEC lawsuit, we've been waiting for some clarity on that one. The SEC originally took aim, I believe it was its very first attack on crypto when it filed that against XRP, saying it was not a currency but rather a security. And do you foresee any sort of clarity on that particular lawsuit soon?
Yeah, what usually happens in these situations is when the SEC comes forward with some sort of action, usually companies will either take one of two paths. They will either say, yes, we are going to settle and we're going to kind of choose a quick end to this battle, or they kind of dig their heels in and they say, look, we're going to go fight this in court. What appears to be the strategy of kind of XRP/Ripple, whatever the entity that you want to kind of describe there, is that they are choosing to go and debate it, to go and present their case. And so that can take a long time, right?
whichever you choose it to be, right? He doesn't know the difference between Ripple and XRP. This is the lack of humility. But meanwhile, this is the same guy who doesn't know the difference intentionally between Ripple, the company, and XRP, the digital asset. He also doesn't know when Bitcoin jumped the shark, which was at the very moment his little fancy Bitcoin pizza box campaign started. Remember that? Remember that? Remember this. Anthony Pompliano was the biggest Bitcoin Maxi on his podcast. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. Everything he was touching, everything he was endorsing went under. And now all of a sudden he wants to distance himself and he wants to be a B-side Joe Rogan. Happy trails. How about this for a contrast? Medico. Remember that? Custody solution for institutions bought by Ripple. Now they can bring custody in-house for their institutional clients. Take a look at some of them. 80% of the banking sector for digital asset custody. Medico, baby. Shout out to Chad for this one. Give him a... Wait a minute. Am I not following Chad? What the hell's going on there? I'm following Chad. You should follow Chad. Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud. Look at them. Here it is. This is Matthew Linai, OG in the space right here. Medico and GFT can offer digital asset custody solution to an estimated 80% of the banking sector. Ripple owns it. Oh, you know. Then there's this. While the space is falling down around us, and Ripple has acquired a custody solution that can take 80% of the banking world and handle it. There have been rumors or reports that the Department of Justice may file criminal charges. Now you have to remember, when the SEC sues you, that's a civil action. We're talking about the Department of Justice may file criminal charges against Binance or CZ himself. Because of the filing of this injunction at this point in time, I suspect that the Department of Justice will file criminal charges. I'm not suggesting the DOJ should file charges or that there's merit one way or the other. But this move is Gary Gensler front-running the Department of Justice and claiming litigation dibs. Gensler has ruthless ambition. The criminal charges will also fit the administration's narrative against crypto, Bitcoin, crypto, and this administration's war against innovation will be a big deal in the 2024 election. And I tell you what, as wrong as all of that is, it is great that it is going to be a big deal in the 2024 election, because then it has to be dealt with. It has to be a talking point of the campaign. No doubt about it. And shout out to John for that here. And then we see this from Charles Gasparino. Shout out to Eleanor Terrett, who has become a real leader in this crypto space. Take a listen here.
Here's kind of what I know from inside the securities industry. Now, you have to understand this. Securities lawyers, they often worked at the SEC. So they have sources there, and they know what's going on there. What they are telling me, and Ellie Terrett, who's my producer, who's very plugged in the crypto world, by the way. She's become one of the best crypto reporters in the business, and it's right here at Fox. It's pretty amazing. They're saying that Gary Gensler, for all intents and purposes, wants to end crypto as a major industry. Maybe a backwater, maybe something where there's a few things happening, but he wants this thing done.
He wants to end the entire crypto industry. That's what he wants to do. That is the goal. And you know what? Senator Bill Haggerty can tell, too. The SEC is weaponizing their role to kill an industry. This is a senator allowing a company to list publicly and then stonewalling their attempts to register is indefensible. It absolutely is. And I tell you what, in just a moment, I'm going to play you Gary Gensler telling you why it is not right that he's doing what he's doing today by suing Binance and Coinbase. John Deaton says we need Democrats now to step up and call this nonsense out. The financial services Dems, and shame on you for not calling this out, Senator Jack Reed, Senator Whitehouse. If you support Gary Gensler and his illegitimate war on crypto, I need to help you lose your seats in Rhode Island. My God, do the right thing instead of pushing partisan politics. Amen to that. Here is Perry Amboring here from the Digital Chamber of Commerce. Take a listen here.
holding back.
What's your take? I mean, it's like SEC gone wild.
Yeah, I mean, this is politically driven. I am a firm believer that crypto is not going away. This is about innovation. It's about technological progress. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is what's right for Americans holding back innovation? And I don't think so. This is $1 trillion industry today. It's expected to grow to 25 trillion by 2030. There's over 1 million jobs in the US that are at risk. This is an attack not just on the crypto industry, but on American innovation in the capital markets. And we've got to get the SEC back within its mandate.
And I don't think you can say it any better, to be honest with you. But I just want to say 25 trillion by 2030. Now, I want you to think about that. The amount of money that's going to flow into this space, but where's it coming from? I'll tell you where it's coming from. The majority of it, I believe, is going to come from tokenizing the rest of the world, the products that already exist. And it's going to happen quickly when it starts to happen. And I know Bitcoin is not suited to handle that. Meanwhile, Brad Garlinghouse chimes in here. He said, basically announcing on the recent actions of Coinbase and suing Binance and Coinbase here, Brad says, if it wasn't already clear, it should be now. Chair Gensler's laughable pro-innovation stance, as he said today, is exactly the opposite. What this also tells me is that the SEC is throwing lawsuits at the wall and hoping they distract from the agency's FTX debacle. Ooh, the gloves are coming off. Brad Garlinghouse calls it like he sees it. Gary Goldman Gensler turned a blind eye, ladies and gentlemen, to FTX, the second largest Democrat donor, who was absolutely a fraud. And they have laws against fraudulent behavior. But Gary Gensler may have missed them like a Clydesdale with the blinders on. Instead, he's going for that jurisdictional power grab. Innovation be damned. Congress must stop him now. Retail, entrepreneurs, innovation, U.S. leader, we're all being damaged by a political appointee. There's no question about it. Stuart Alderati chimes in on top of Brad's tweet and says the allegations in these suits are just that, unproved. The SEC, despite what Chair Gensler pretends, does not have a magic regulatory wand that it can just wave and say tokens are securities. Looking forward to how the court and Congress will take this. And so are we. Oh, and we've got something for you to see. Don't you go anywhere. This right here is a reminder that 7 days right after June 13th, which is when we're supposed to get the Hinman emails in 6 more days here, ladies and gentlemen. 6 days away for the Hinman emails. And meanwhile, 7 days after that, we're going to see the Third Circuit Court issued a short order on Coinbase's writ of mandamus action, which basically is asking the SEC to prove their stance, essentially, right? So this is what we're looking at here, if we could get right to it here. So this is what the court has ordered here. The U.S. court tells the SEC to respond to Coinbase's rulemaking petition within a week. And basically what they're saying is that you need to prove to us whether the SEC has now decided to deny Coinbase's petition for rulemaking. 2, if not, how much additional time the SEC requires to decide whether to grant or deny that petition. And 3, why this court should not retain jurisdiction and order periodic reports as Coinbase has proposed, and or B, establish a deadline by which the court will rule on Coinbase's petition for writ of mandamus if the SEC has not yet granted or denied the petition for rulemaking. Coinbase but not as required, to file a response within 5 days of the SEC's filing. Each submission should not exceed 10 pages double-spaced. That's the rules right there. You know, this is Coinbase putting pressure on them, and here's why it's going to work ultimately. Shout out to James Murphy, Meta Lawman, securities litigator. I tell you, former securities litigator, this guy is uber smart, and we'll be sitting down with him very soon. Just you watch. If the SEC follows through on its threat to sue Coinbase, I believe the SEC will lose. The SEC's case has a fatal flaw, and it's Gary Gensler's making. Oh, God, I can't wait for you to see this. After he was confirmed to his post as the chairman of the SEC, Gensler testified to Congress on May 6, 2021, almost 1 year or 2 years ago to the day. The SEC does not have authority from Congress to regulate crypto exchanges. Listen to him say it himself.
I do think that working with Congress, and I think it's only Congress that could really address it, it'd be good to consider, if you would ask my thoughts, to consider whether to bring greater investor protection to the crypto exchanges. And I think if that were to be the case, because right now the exchanges trading in these crypto assets do not have a regulatory framework, either at the SEC or our sister agency, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, that could instill greater confidence. Right now, there's not a market regulator around these crypto exchanges, and thus there's really not protection against fraud or manipulation or a conflict of interest.
So they don't have the jurisdiction that he's now claiming that he does. The problem for the SEC, of course, is that Gary Gensler's testimony was entirely correct. Which agency may be given authority to regulate crypto exchanges is a major question that can only be answered by Congress. The SEC can't simply wish its own legal authority into existence. If the SEC follows through on its threats to sue Coinbase, the Coinbase legal team will surely zero in on communications with the SEC leading up to Gensler's May 6, 2021 testimony. All testimony of an SEC chairman is thoroughly vetted internally before they testify, so there will be emails, meeting notes, memos, text messages. Imagine, we're about to get the Hinman emails in 6 days, and we're liable to have another scenario, which would be the Gensler emails. I mean, this is remarkable, the actions of this agency. It is just unbelievable. This was a consensus within the SEC that it lacked legal authority from Congress, and basically the memos are going to prove it. Oh, this is a highly embarrassing prospect for the SEC, says Meta Lawman. Shout out to him. Meanwhile, let's take a look at this. There's a nice monthly chart here, and Coins Kid and AgRag Crypto like it, especially with the time perspective. So let's take a look at it. The 1.618 is a very, very important Fibonacci level, which has been very important to XRP charts. And if we take a look here, you can see what he's talking about. You can see the 1.0 and the 1.618 here would hit $27. But what AgRag Crypto loved was the timeline, which you may not love, which shows 2024, 2025. So you may have, we all may have some time to go before we see that $27. And you know what? I'm here for it. Because I'm here for 4 and 5 digits, because I believe what Ripple has set out to do. And I believe that XRP will complement what Ripple, the company, is going to do as a digital asset. And I believe that it will ultimately serve the world as a bridge currency. And I believe that it can hit 4 and 5 digits easily once it does that. So I am excited, and I'm here for all of it. $1, $10,000, you name it. And I don't give a shit about any of these trolls out here that can talk trash all they want. They are trash, because if you're not focused on where your life is going, you're losing. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives.